Honorable Minister Berner, President Terry, dear guests and colleagues, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to this Digi Matchmaking event of 2017, which the purpose of it is to industry academia networking with the timely theme of data-driven services and cybersecurity. I'm Kimmo Kaski. I'm a professor here at Aalto University, School of Science, and I will be chairing this matchmaking event. So let me first tell you how I do see the data-driven services and cybersecurity. Okay, I start with this slide telling about digitalization, advancement of it, and what the ICT, information communication technology, has been creating us. And it has facilitated to build these secure data-driven services and society as a whole. Data is said to be the new oil, but the new oil is only valuable if it's refined. So must the data be analyzed for it to be useful. So here I show the basically all walks of life. There is a traffic, transportation, communication, healthcare, well-being, education, learning, government, democracy, societal and social services, public institutions, arts and humanities, built environment, smart cities, media and games, entertainment, service economy, trade and commerce, energy and process and manufacturing industry. All of them will be affected by these, by digitalization, of course, ICT, and the data created by them. Also, it has been said that data doesn't burn in fire like the oil would do. So I say this because it's important to keep the data in a secure way and conserving the privacy. It has also been said that data will be the new currency, and because of that, the power to affect many things. Within this circle, I have listed data banks, which is the important thing, also the cybersecurity. These are the elements we build on to use them for the benefit of all these activities in the society. And the means to do that is to do cloud computing, data analytics, artificial intelligence, and Internet of Things. Those are the technologies. Here I want to kind of advertise what we have been able to build in Aalto, and very much going ahead in the forefront. First of all, the academic ICT, as I call it, it includes 100 faculty and their groups. Even in the computer science department, we have 45 professors and 400 staff. We train 1/3 of the Finland's Master of Science people in this area, covering all the fields of ICT. Here I also list the research areas or strength we have mainly in this department, but of course across the Aalto we have many more. Then we have international forefront or excellence in many areas like machine learning, neural networks, artificial intelligence, computational science, data science, big data, and data analytics, probabilistic modeling and inference, high performance computing as well, and many others, building and getting stronger. So that's just as a last comment, that also the students have noticed the importance of such fields like machine learning. 2015, we had something like 200 students taking the first course of machine learning. Last September, we got 500 across the Aalto. So let me now move on. Move on. Next, I would like to invite Minister Berner from Ministry of Transportation and Communications to present opening words and greetings from the government. We are indeed very honored to have you here today with us.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. It's my honor to come here today. I'm sorry for having quite a short time to stay here today, as Thursday is the typical day where we meet for our government meetings. Scientific progress is an enormously impressive thing. It provides us with deeper understanding, it enhances our daily life, it gives us potential for growth, competitive advantages, and new perspectives on how we can see the future. One of the most influential scientific progress in the last decades has been the development of digital technologies. We have seen in the past already so far how much smartphone, artificial intelligence, robotics have made major steps forward. From this point of view, it is not a surprise that digitalization is often understood as some sort of gadget, mobile phones, other elements. For me, it has always been much more about the change in process, the change in how we make decisions, how we make choices. And that has created for us a completely new possibility for a new environment, for the way we work, and the way we actually create an understanding of our surroundings. And it is actually from this perspective that the cooperation between academia and industry is so very important. Digital technologies depend on innovation, and innovation itself, again, depends on access to information. Sharing knowledge has always been the foundation of innovation, and I think that's something that you know much more about than we know, maybe at the ministry. And sharing data has been noticed actually to create benefits in the private sector too. Even if I have to say that there it's not a clear understanding yet, sharing data seems sometimes for the private sector still to be something that you have to find the right level for. And we are still often seeing that companies, industries are worrying about losing competitive advantage. But it has still, sharing data has still created what we know and call today ecosystems. So in this era of big data and sophisticated data analytics, data has become much more a raw material, and it has become a much more an actor in itself. You said that data is our future currency, and we can see that so much in our behaviors already today. How many of us are not willing to tick a certain box to say yes in order to get a certain advantage? And that's how we start. Innovations are not only made at the data source, but also at the edge of the information networks. And this has also important consequences for our future. Disruptions, shaking these foundations of a specific sector, we see that they are more and more not coming from sectors within, as maybe traditionally industries have developed, but today disruptions come basically from outside the sector and forcing change with a completely different strength that they used to do before. That also gives us a completely new speed in our developments and in how we adapt to new changes. That also, of course, also challenges the legislator. How do we have to move? What kind of legislative environment is the right one in order to give space to innovation, allow for technology neutrality, and make sure that we do not over-regulate, but we still make sure also that there is a level playing field and that we do protect third parties. It's not always an easy solution to find, and certainly not an easy balance. So we also need much more experiments, testing, and space for that. We have to make exemptions from our existing legislation in order to move forward, also in order to understand and learn before we write the paragraphs and send them to our parliament. And that also means that legislating needs to become a different kind of process. On the one side, we should be ahead so that we don't prevent innovation from developing. At the other side, we have to make sure that the foundation and structures and the level playing field can be maintained in our society. Scientific progress, we can say that it is basically always seen as something that's positive, and we meet it with a positive approach. The progress, we think, is eternal, and we also believe that it automatically leads to something better. Technology development and advancement is also often fast-paced, and we know that we can meet that development with suspicion. And these discussions we have met also here in Finland. So more and more, we have to also understand how we handle the risks to society and how do we maintain a level of trust. And the importance of that we cannot underestimate. Today, I think we have a lot of potentially already valid technology developments that are there, but we haven't the trust so that we can actually say that we are willing to use them, even if we know by theory that they are enhancing our safety and security and they make our lives easier and better. I can only look at my own field of transport, where we can say that autonomous vehicles are no longer maybe a technology challenge, but most people are not willing to go into a car without a driver. And they don't trust the system. So how can we make sure that we can create trust for digital innovations? And how can we make sure that we can trust a society and an environment that is more and more data-driven? All that we saw here on your list of things that you can learn here at university, that you practice, that you study, that you research, needs the trust from the society. And so we have to make sure that we don't slower our acceptance, but that we can move alongside. And there we need a different kind of dialogue. And it's not only the dialogue between industry and academia. We also need the dialogue between legislators, society, academia, and industry. What is important for us is how do we create innovations which can be supported also by good digital security and privacy solutions, both in material but also in legislative levels, so that we can enable security incidents, data breaches, cyber crimes to be prevented, so that we can create the trust that this is something we have studied, we understand, and we know how to handle and deal with it. The future will be much more about connectivity than it is today. Everything will be connected. Everything we'll see in the Internet of Things. smart connected transport systems, and that needs both a well-functioning infrastructure, but it needs also enablers that come outside and say that you can believe in the system. It is essential that we secure the functioning of the internet and the communications networks, and that we do have our physical safety and the security of services and goods that are becoming more dependent on digital security, and that we do the right moves and the right moment. Today and at large in this time, we are having a constant discussion between the right to access data and the right to data security and privacy. How do we find the balance, and how do we find the ways where we can level with safety and security risk and management, and at the same time make sure that we don't breach innovation and the development of that. So technical progress allows us to make major breakthroughs and also create a better environment for all. What we hope to see that the issues of security and safety are integrated by design originally in all developments, not something that you add at the end, but that you have it an integral part always in every development by design. And if we can achieve that, there is an enormous amount of possibilities where we can make society better, we can make everyday life better, we can make our competitive environment better, and we can create something that is our strength and our uniqueness that we know. I'd like to quote here to the end Archimedes, who had an unwavering trust on science, when he said that, give me a lever long enough and a place to stand, and I will move the earth. Maybe we're not able, with all the developments and innovations that we have and know, maybe we are not able to move the earth, but we certainly can change the world. And this is something that I hope that today, in your matchmaking, you want to aspire and to achieve. And you meet each other, come together, and together, maybe you can change the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dave.
Thank you, Kimmo. Now I am properly wired. So, yes, I have been somehow connected with Aalto from the very beginning. Actually, before the Aalto was born, I was involved, and it has been really interesting and exciting to follow what has happened over these roughly 7 years when Aalto has been really functioning as a university, of merger of the 3 universities. So my message is really that Aalto is a major player in digital. I'm a bit continuing what Kimmo started, but to bring some other angles to this presentation, to this view. So, this is something that took some years to find out, but we are now very confident that we are among the 1% top in world rankings in digitalization. There are different rankings. Some are very specific, some are more broad, depending what you want to. You get results that vary a bit what you are interested about. But with high confidence, we can say that we are among the 1% best universities. And in some rankings, we are number 20, 30 in that range when you go to certain theoretical computer science or something like that. And then actually, we have a bit more professors in this area, what Kimmo mentioned, when we take the Aalto as a whole, because we have roughly 80, 90 in the core digi research areas, but we have almost the same number in the other schools, and this is quite important. And one of the key findings when Aalto has been created and is now operational is that how much cross-disciplinary collaboration we can actually do today, and what kind of resources we have when we have all the schools now collaborating. And my responsibility, hobby more or less nowadays, is to facilitate this kind of cross-school collaboration, cross-disciplinary collaboration, and in digi area, but also in energy area. This slide shows the 4 core areas of Aalto in the center. How they have been defined, they are that there is enough, let's say, volume, meaning professors, and it's somehow nicely connected to each other, so which are relevant as well. Research education, collaboration with external parties are the criteria. So ICT and digitalization is one, and that's really the biggest one of those. Then the 3 others, it's good to mention anyhow: art and design, then materials and sustainable use of natural resources, and the 4th one is global business dynamics. These are the 4 core areas of Aalto. Then on the outer sphere we have a bit broader areas where even more multidisciplinary collaboration takes place. In this area, our external funding is about 50 million per year, which is actually quite a lot. Then the question is, how do we, this is my main topic actually, how do we facilitate cross-school collaboration? How do we facilitate interdisciplinary collaboration in Aalto? How do we take maximum benefit out of this? And for that purpose, we have established what we call platforms. They comprise of about 10, 12 professors from all schools, and they have quite a liberal mandate to think what we could do here, what we should do here, how can we reach out, how can we receive information from, and how can we communicate with the companies and other stakeholders. So it's kind of a think tank with a pretty open mandate to operate. And on the lower part of the slide, we see are listed the different platforms. Energy was the first, then came Digi platform, and now we have Living Plus, Health, and also the materials platform already exists. So, kind of simple message is that yes, if you have any ideas what we could do, please contact us. That means Christina over here and myself, and we are organizing different events. This is one. Last year we had one that had even bigger number of people registered, but this is already, we had something like 300, out of which 150 come from outside Aalto and 150 come from inside Aalto. So it's a pretty nice match. Really, thinking about that, this is matchmaking. Here are some upcoming events for your information. Mechatronic Circus, a fantastic event. See what the mechanical engineering people have been doing in this area. Very exciting show. Real-time economy, artificial intelligence goes industry, virtual and augmented reality, and digital process industry later in October. And there can be some others still taking place during this year. So please look at our websites, come to the events, and come up also with your own ideas, what you would like us to do. So we are at your service, and we have digi@aalto.fi, our website which tells what we are doing. All pieces of kind of news and activities are listed there, very easy. And then, as I mentioned, Christina and myself are the contact persons. Thank you.
My name is Mikko Hyppönen. I am the Chief Research Officer for F-Secure, and I've spent the last 26 years hunting hackers. 26 years of hunting hackers and trying to protect people's online security and online privacy. which really doesn't mean that in the beginning it wasn't about online security and online privacy. It was about security and privacy, because this internet thingy wasn't really commonplace when I started malware analysis in the beginning of the 1990s. But we're all very lucky to be alive during this time in mankind's history, because we got to see the internet revolution. And it is a revolution, because we are the first generations in mankind's history who are able to communicate virtually anywhere in the world. For the first time, distances doesn't matter. For the first time, geography doesn't matter. And we'd like to think that borders don't matter anymore. But it turns out that borders still exist. Even on the internet, the borders are still there. In the happy first years of the internet boom, it looked like we have one world, and all the conflicts are a thing of the history, because we have now this internet generation. But I guess we've now woken up and realized that the borders are actually there, and they still do matter. So the TCP/IP protocol, which is the foundation of the internet, was developed in Stanford University and released in December 1969. I was born in October 1969, so I am older than the internet. All right? That's how old the internet is. This is how old the internet is. But of course, the real revolution started with the web and then with the smartphones. So today, everything is online, and geography is just a thing on a map. Computers don't care where you are. Phones and tablets don't care where you are. We have a new paradigm, and the next revolution is starting right now. This revolution has been about computers and related devices like smartphones going online. The next revolution is everything else going online. Yes, the connected devices revolution, or the IoT revolution. The IoT revolution actually really started from factories and from ICS, industrial control systems. If you look at companies like Siemens, they started building factory automation already in the 1960s. But right now, the way I think about IoT is that any device that we used to plug into the electricity grid, we will now be plugging in to the internet grid. So if it uses power, it will be online. And this revolution will happen whether we like it or not. There's nothing we can do to prevent this. There's multiple huge forces leading us into this direction. And you will be having IoT devices in your home. Even if you don't like the idea, you will not have any other option. And as this revolution goes through, the internet itself will disappear. The internet will disappear. 30 years from now, nobody will be speaking about the internet, because the internet will be everywhere, and everybody and every device will always automatically assume that they can get connectivity and connect to anywhere in the world. This will become the norm. And after that, we don't speak about the internet. It's going to be as normal as the air we breathe. We don't think about the air we breathe. We just assume it's there. And the same thing is happening with the internet. And one thing that worries me about this revolution where everything goes online is that the digital devices that we use have a fairly short lifespan. What's the oldest application you use? It's probably not too old, because digital products rot. They don't work forever. They need constant support, they need updates and patches, and the vendors behind them will not support them forever. Eventually they will release a new version, and the old version is no longer supported, and you have to use a new version or a different product. Now imagine the same thing with, I don't know, your car or your washing machine. How many decades will a vendor supply updates and patches for your washing machine or for your car? 10 years, 20, 30, 40? We have some tough questions ahead of us. And we saw an example of this 2 weeks ago when the largest or the second largest cloud service on the planet, Amazon Web Services, had an extended outage. And many of the cloud services we use and many IoT services we use Amazon. So for example, some ovens didn't work because Amazon was down. What the hell? Ovens which won't work because a cloud service is down. So we do have big challenges ahead of us. And governments are clearly entering this new arms race of offensive use of internet technologies, or, if you will, cyber arms race. We see sabotage online done by governments. We see espionage online done by governments. And this new world of social networks means that individual citizens can be targeted with tailor-made messages, which can lead to things like affecting the outcome of elections. And the fact that Russia tried affecting the outcome of the presidential elections in the biggest superpower on the planet is a pretty big deal. It is a pretty big deal. But this is the world where we live today. This is the world of the cyber arms race. Welcome to the cyber arms race. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the most beautiful university in Finland, Aalto University. My name is Jarno Limnell and I work as Professor of Practice Cybersecurity here in Aalto University, and I have been working with security-related issues more than 20 years in defense forces, in business, and in academia. And I have to say that, of course, we concentrate very much nowadays on digitalization, technology, robotics, artificial intelligence. But when we talk about the future, and especially future of the security, we often forget what is the most valuable asset in it. As Mikko mentioned, there is ongoing cyber arms race in the world. And I would say in this cyberspace, this is probably the most powerful person in the whole world. He is the Admiral Michael Rogers, who is the chief of the NSA, National Security Agency, and also commander of the US Cyber Command. So I can imagine that he is a pretty busy guy. But what he spends his time at the moment and what he do a lot is that he is traveling around the United States, universities, research institutions, schools, and giving speeches, trying to hire talented individuals to work for him. So actually my argument is that even if we say that there is cyber arms race in the world at the moment, there is even fiercer arms race on these talented individuals, humans, who can solve and produce different solutions. Admiral Michael Rogers is just following the DoD strategy of the United States, and the number one goal of it, trying to hide talented individuals. And this is the same race on these people in West, in East, and more or less in all over the world. And of course, the private companies, not only governments and military organizations, are draw these talented people from the very same pool. There are many predictions like this saying that more and more cybersecurity professionals are needed, for example, in the board members in the big companies. and saying, like this report, that within next 5 years there will be 1.5 million shortage of this workforce in the whole world. And even the Forbes predicted it, that in this year there will be 1 million new cybersecurity jobs opening in the whole world. So we should not forget this when we talk about the arms race and when we talk about the future of the digitalization and technology. It's about the humans. And the humans are the most valuable resource in cybersecurity. We just delivered this report to the Prime Minister's office. Together, Aalto University and Jyväskylän University made this large research on what is the current state of cybersecurity and the future of it in Finland. And one key point what we emphasize as conclusion in this report is that we need more talented people to work in this field if we want to take the advantage of the technology, digitalization, and maintain trust, as the Minister Berner mentioned earlier. And especially we need women. Only 11% of the people who work in this field are women. We need more you. But of course, we need people who can solve these technological problems, challenges which we are facing more or less all the time, and the new ones are coming. But at the same time, as you already really understand how digitalization, internet will change more or less everything, we need more and more people to have the strategic understanding on these issues too. And I would even add one more box above the strategic level skills, and that's politics. Especially my colleagues in the United States and many other countries, they are paying more and more the political point of view and the political interest on these issues, also from the research point of view, if we really want to change the world. So when we talk cybersecurity, yes, it is an enabler when we talk about the future, enabler. But the most valuable skills in next years may not focus on specific technology, but ability to understand the big picture of this security in this digitalized world. Thank you.
So Jarno, do you think...
Yes, I think.
Good. Do you think there's more upsides than downsides from this whole digitalization of the world?
Well, to put it short, as my opinion, I think there are much more advantages when we talk about the digitalization. And of course, when we are celebrating our 100 years independence in Finland at the moment, and we are thinking about the future narrative, we think about the technology and digitalizations. And I think the future of the whole Finland is very dependent on how well we succeed in this digitalization, from the government's point of view, from the private sector point of view, and also from the individual's point of view. And that is one reason why I really like to emphasize in today's world, not only to get these cybersecurity specialists, but the human point of view on these issues. Each one of us responsibility also to create, like you mentioned, this culture of the responsibility to this digitalized world. Well, Mikko, I have one question for you also. Do you think that in coming years we will have enough these talented security experts in Finland, and how you see what is the role of the Aalto University in it?
Well, this is the key challenge, and I'm really glad you focused on the key challenge of finding the skills and finding the people to do the work that needs to be done, because this is a huge challenge. We have a clear shortage of professionals. There is job security in security. I can tell you this. We're not running out of security problems anytime soon. So yeah, we have major problems. We know this as a company operating. We have offices around the world, but obviously big operations here in Finland, and we are running. Well, we've been running a program here at Aalto University for many years. Yes. We can't find enough people any other way. However, when you compare the challenge we have here in Finland, I would claim the situation might be even worse in many other countries, in many neighboring countries. Because for a country of 5 million people, we have an unusually large info security industry and collection of companies operating here. And there are many reasons why this is the case. Some of them even start from the 1940s and 50s, from the fact that, for example, academic studying, teaching of things like encryption technology was never restricted in Finland, unlike in many other European countries. But nevertheless, we have big challenges, but so does everyone else. And I think Finland is well equipped, and Aalto University is well equipped to handle these challenges if we are ready to do the work.
But do you really think, because this is the change of the attitude, and we are creating more or less this cybersecurity culture in Finland, and it takes time to change the culture. And unfortunately, in this report to the Prime Minister's office, we came up to the conclusion that probably, now being a little bit pessimistic, I know, that Finland needs this so-called cyber tsunami before we start really taking these issues seriously. Do you agree?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, we can handle this if we are ready to do the work. Unfortunately, people are ready to do the work only typically after they've seen what could happen if they don't do it. It's the same story about how people buy fire insurance for their house after the house has burned down. And I mean, I'd like to think myself as an optimist, despite of the field that I work in. But nevertheless, I do worry about what kind of an internet will we be leaving to our children. Because we all received a free and open internet. One of the few things that the mankind has, which truly and really is global. We received that. And the question is, how free and how open will it be when we leave it behind us? And that's the thing that worries me.
I have to add one point to you, because I'm doing a lot of research at the moment concerning about what the Finns, the young Finns, what they think about the Finland future, technology, security. And one point what comes out to that material to me is that they don't so much separate that we have this internet, we have this digital world, and then we have this physical world. When they talk security, it covers these both worlds. And I think that when we are looking at the future, I think we are intertwining these physical security issues and digital security issues more and more to each other. And maybe in the future, like you a little bit mentioned, no one will probably talking about the internet in next 30 years. Maybe in next 20 years we will not be talking anymore about the cybersecurity. We are just talking about the security where these digital and cybersecurity issues are just an integral part of it.
I mean, you and we're dinosaurs. We're still thinking about this old way of like the real world and the online world. And we dinosaurs, we have to die out for the next generation to come up and fix all these problems. And with that, I think it's time to move on.
Thank you, Mikko.
Yeah, so we got a title, Artificial Intelligence Hyper Reality. And as told, I'm from Reactor. Reactor is a digital design and creative and artificial intelligence company. And we build products and services, digital services around the globe for our customers. And in this kind of short introduction, I will say that artificial intelligence is a reality now, and there are 3 reasons to it. But there's also a lot of hype around it. And then I'm going to say that even if there's a lot of hype, there's kind of some hope that we will make some progress towards that. So the three things that are the key things for why artificial intelligence is a reality today is that the first one is that we've had these kind of machine learning methods. They've been around for 20 years. Some of them have been around for 40 years. So there's a well-grounded theoretical foundation to do learning in machines. Another thing that is very, very central to the change that we have seen in the past years is the digitalization, because it brings the methods enormous amount of data that the systems can use to learn things and to cope in environments. And a third thing is a rapid increase in computation power. And that as well has been a kind of really central issue to this. So when we have these three, the computation power, the data, and the methods, that makes autonomous intelligence systems a reality today. But the caveat is that still today, these systems, they work only in restricted domains. So we only have like restricted domain AI. So we don't have like general artificial intelligence that could operate anywhere as a kind of, let's say, an assistant or a virtual assistant. But they are really like targeted into specific domains. Then some things that we have done some kind of public references here in Finland. This Yle Areena recommendation engine is one of them, so that if you use Yle Areena, you will get suggestions of other programs that you might like. We as well did this kind of estimation of Finnish housing prices in kind of zip code level that has caught some publicity as well. And another personalization system for Veikkaus. And there's a speech recognition system or kind of language understanding system on a mobile platform, but I cannot kind of disclose any of the details of that one. So, and there are a lot of these kind of narrow domain artificial intelligence products out there and services that you can use. But as I said, they're still like narrow domain. But I think that there's a kind of new research trend called deep learning. And I think that's a kind of a step towards this artificial general intelligence. And I'm going to show some examples and say why I think that's the case. The first one, this is a game, an old Asian strategy game called Go. And it has been called the most difficult game the humans have ever made. And last year, and for a long time, this was a game that computers just couldn't master at all. So in a few months, a human could outperform any computer systems from start of playing this game. But last year, a computer program called AlphaGo won against Lee Sedol, who's arguably the strongest player in the world. And he won 4 games out of 5. And around New Year, 2016, 2017, this computer program, an updated version, played 60 games against professionals on the internet, and it won them all. So we can now say that this computer program has totally surpassed the goal of humanity in Go. Another example from games, this is a kind of, there are Atari video games, these old ones from the end of 70s, early 80s. And this Google DeepMind, they have a system that the same algorithm, which is the important thing here, the same algorithm can learn to master almost all of these Atari games. So it's the same kind of deep learning, reinforcement learning algorithm. And there are no like tweaks that in this game, let's tweak it like this, and in that game, let's tweak it like that. But the same program really learns to play all of the games. It's like humans. When we play, it's the same human Then Facebook, this is actually something that you can try yourself. If you use the kind of developer mode, you can kind of tag your own images or photos that you have taken. You get a description of what is in the photo. As well, Siri from iPhone, it speaks Finnish. I heard that somebody was somehow troubled about whether the artificial intelligence will speak Finnish. It does speak Finnish and it understands Finnish, so that's not a problem, really. And as well, Tesla, this kind of autonomous self-driving car, it as well uses deep learning. So this is my introduction, and then please Sami. And we thought that we'll do this in such a way that Sami will have a short introduction, and then you can kind of ask questions, and we discuss around that. Yes, thank you.
Thanks for this event. I hope you hear me. Yes, I'm Sami Kaski. I'm academic professor at Aalto University Department of Computer Science. And we all have, of course, seen the headlines recently. So the major newspapers are now having a section on news on artificial intelligence and machine learning, not only individual news. But of course, there's also future articles, in particular about the societal implications of artificial intelligences. And of course, the technology as such is interesting as well. And then in Finland, we are fortunate enough to have a prime minister who not only says that he will make Finland great again, but actually has proposing some tools on how this can be done. So he's proposing that Finland should be the #1 country in artificial intelligence. So I suppose we need to normalize by the size of the country, but at least we can perhaps be the sharpest country in the artificial intelligence. So hyper-reality, as Jarkko was saying, so the general artificial intelligence, my strong belief is that for some time still it will be a hype, but it is so interesting basic research question. If we are thinking of computer science as being automating things that they're done in various manual ways earlier, so I would define artificial intelligence as automating this automation process. And of course, if this succeeds, then it will be an exponential growth and things will start developing really rapidly. But not quite yet. But in contrast, so in many fields, the kind of much closer opportunity that may be already revolutionary within those fields, it obviously comes from having data. Having data for the first time. It may be big or small, and then having algorithms, more or less automatic algorithms, progressively more automatic algorithms in analyzing and using that data to making better decisions. So there is an ongoing disruptive transformation in all fields already. If there is some field which hasn't realized this, it is a golden opportunity for people who know what to do, so pay attention is the message, I think. So, within research, of course, we are spending every minute of our time trying to do best possible research and educating the next generation. But we thought that, in particular, because if there is a movement in Finland now, prompted by the Prime Minister too, so we could try to do a bit more also on the impact domain as we researchers. So we started by writing a few popular press articles. In this case, the title is not ours. I wouldn't have written it this way. But one of the main messages of this thing is that the crucial competitive advantage will be the novel innovation. So anybody who has a novel innovation can easily scale it up within that specific problem domain. So the one who has the innovation first will take it off if they want to. So, and we cannot succeed by just following others. So Jarkko showed excellent examples, but we are not working on Go for an obvious reason. We are working on other problems now. Yeah. And that's the same thing. Self-driving cars, there can be still things that Finland can do much better. But it would be rather uphill battle to try to be the best country in the world in self-driving cars at this moment. So what should we then do? Whatever we can to have those radical new innovations first. And the best recipe I know is the basic research. Fortunately, Finland and Aalto in particular are traditionally very strong in this. So there is long traditions and there is lots of activity now. I will not bore you with all the details. There are some posters outside this hall. So we don't have this in all fields. In this field we happen to have it. But that's not enough. So the field is so big investments are needed that in addition to what universities can do, also the companies have to do things on this basic research front so that we can have those radical innovations made here. And the Prime Minister in principle has deep pockets. So if he decides to devote half of Finland's budget on this, then maybe we are fine. If he doesn't, then we need to do something together. And maybe we will start discussing on what that would be. And one event where we can continue this discussion is then the Digi breakfast that Yrjö mentioned. That will be in the end of May. All are welcome there. So thanks, that was my part. And now really we thought that we wouldn't be asking each other questions, but instead get some from the audience.
Okay, we call up on the people asking questions and making comments. Raise your hands so we can hand over the microphone.
What opportunities does Reactor provides at the moment to students, to master and PhD students?
We do have some summer internships. If you're interested, let's talk after this. Yeah, because for this summer we have actually closed the books, but it's still we have kind of opportunities. So and there's ongoing. And we as well hire all the time, so it's a kind of as a kind of digital company, we try to hire as much of the kind of top quality people as we can. So we actually can't hire enough. So yes.
University. So where is the bottleneck actually? Is it the lack of students? Is it the lack of teachers in universities? Is it the lack of understanding in companies?
Well, I would say that in Finland there's a certain kind of a mismatch between what the companies do and what the research is. So I think there's not enough like revolutionary new products and services made by Finnish companies currently. So I think in this case you have to kind of aim for the global market and not only make like local products. And that's one reason why I think that the kind of Finnish-Swedish language question was a bit kind of not the reasonable one, because if we'll concentrate on that one, then certainly we will not be the kind of make like global products in this area.
From phase N, and my question is about when you have increased amount of data and computing power available now, so have you, in your research, have you found any intractable problems that you consider that AI would solve, but would turn out to be still unreachable?
I think there are plenty of questions where in particular the amount of data is not the bottleneck, but it would be the understanding or the precise model that is needed to predict causal mechanisms, for instance. That's a trivial thing that is very hard to take from the data alone without having any intervention. So it would need to have a really interactive system, or then it would need to have some modeling. That's one example. There are plenty others.
And as well in the kind of control field, if you think about the Atari games that I showed the example of, there's the last one was the Montezuma challenge or game. The things that need like planning or simulation, they are still very difficult for artificial intelligence systems. So they can do very well in things that where the environment is a very restricted one, like Go, even if it's a very complex thing, and as well things where it's enough to be a kind of in a reactive mode. Most of these other games are like reactive, but in the Montezuma you have things that you have to go in another part of the game and fetch some keys and come back and use them. And it's very difficult to kind of figure that out from the kind of very raw data. So things like planning and reasoning, and they are still tough.
And then a very quick one. So do you think quantum computing will very much change AI?
I don't have enough expertise in that field so that I could kind of comment on that one.
So far, the bottleneck is the quantum computing is the size of how many qubits you can have. So if it is a very limited size, limited number, then it is hard to solve the really high dimensional problems that we observe in school. So not immediately, but it will revolutionize many of the inference problems that there are within AI.
We have one more question, William.
I'm curious, how ready are the algorithms? So how much is research developing new artificial intelligence algorithms? There are some that are well known, but what is the research actually going on right now?
So in this autonomous or general artificial intelligence, that's really, really rudimentary at the moment. So it's only scratching the surface at the moment. So there is more unknown than there are known.
Okay, I think we have to move on because the time is short and I have to cut in. And thank you, Mikko and Sami, for this very enlightening discussion, and I think the future will follow. And let's make Finland great again.
Yes. Thank you.
I'm Jouni Peltonen. Thanks very much for the opportunity I invite to come here. I used to study here more than 20 years ago in technical physics in Helsinki University of Technology, and I was in information science. We studied neural networks and self-organizing maps, and now finally it's coming in the industry, so more than 20 years. So I a little bit disagree what was discussed earlier, that you shouldn't go to the fields where there is already research. I still think that the people and the companies who make it better, and so that the industries can apply it and the customers can really adapt using it, can break it. So even though it's not a new invention, so I still encourage to do a lot of research also in areas that others are doing. So the constant competition keeps it interesting for everyone. So I'm coming from KONE, representing the IoT in the R&D area. KONE traditionally is known for the elevators, escalators, doors, and maintaining them. But of course, we have had long time remote monitoring of our equipment, but we are entering an area of new services. We are not inside the elevator shaft anymore. We have solutions that go across the journey of the people in the building or in the premises. So basically, we are really much focusing on the people flow, so covering everything, for example, in the residential building, from the parking garage to your home apartment, and building new services around that. So basically, I just indicating that reflecting back what Mikko said about this, there's no geographies, there's no boundaries. Unfortunately, there still are. We are biggest vendor in China in this industry, and we have to do things in China also in IoT, because internet is not the internet in China. So this will always be the case. There are certain exceptions, and that's of course making this also quite interesting, this business. But we do have like over 1 million equipment in maintenance. We have more than 400,000 customers, and we have all the time there's more than 1 billion people in our equipment. So that's kind of an opportunity to seize. We could capture that moment, maybe have something special for the passengers, not just staring at the walls like many people do in elevators. And that is, of course, also the tricky part, that it's a very short moment. On the other hand, when you go to Dubai, to China, to Hong Kong, it's not that short anymore. It can be even a minute you are there when it's a 100-story building. There's a lot of you can do with not just elevator music. And basically, this is also our message that we have traditionally, in our industry, there's a typical scenario is that you're a customer, you can choose a contract like from platinum, gold levels, that's it. But our customers require much more nowadays, and we want to serve them better. So we have to enter in this area of mass customization. It's not just like you have only these options, but we really want to provide what the customer is asking for. So that is also where we really help with being able to connect all of our devices, provide real-time data of the condition and usage of the equipment. So there's a kind of two angles we see entering this area. One is to be able to provide better customer satisfaction, transparency, safety, security, that I know my equipment is okay, my people can move in the building. This is not always a kind of just a comfortable thing or kind of a comfort issue. Many times it can be also really a business impact, like if the escalators in Washington Metro are down, they close the whole station because it creates a safety risk. People don't flow fast enough through the station. Or we can, with better people for management, avoid casualties. For example, when there is in India, the people go through these metro stations to big events or enter certain occasion, we can ensure that the people flow is optimal and nobody gets injured in that ride. So it's not just like a convenience issue. Also, in that sense, we of course know better the condition of the equipment, and we can plan our maintenance better and also predict when something is going to happen. And that means that the optimal situation, the equipment is up all the time. So for customers, they don't notice that there is no break in the usage of equipment. And more importantly, they see what is happening. Customers usually say that they are not that worried about or if something is down, if they know about it. So this awareness, transparency is as important as being able to provide uptime for the equipment. And that is what we provide with our services. That's kind of more in the traditional side, to be able to get data from the equipment, be able to use that in the analytics, so to understand how to optimize the maintenance visits and so on. But we are also entering these new and personalized services. So for us, it's also very important to be able to build this ecosystem of partners, which is the trendy word also, this ecosystem. But for us, it's clear that we basically we provide APIs for third parties who then use our equipment as they see best. So it's not just reading data, but commanding it. So typical API call is to be able to remotely order an elevator to the floor, from this floor to that floor. And this we, for example, use with partners who build visitor management solutions. So that's basically from my side. Let's continue with the academics.
So where are we when it comes to Internet of Things or industrial internet within industrial operations? There was a claim by MIT Technology Review 2 or 3 years ago that we should not be talking about industrial internet or Internet of Things at all, because the data never ever leaves the firewalls of the company. We should be talking about industrial intranet or Internet of Things because of that. I had an opportunity in a couple of projects that we conducted for the Prime Minister's office about the industrial internet and platform economy to ask that question from the companies. How much of your data is really going and across your firewalls? And the response was 2 to 5%. So it's not that much of a data that is transferred between the companies. That is a huge problem. Or I do consider that that's a huge problem when it comes to new innovation creation. Where are we in Finland when it comes to industrial internet or Internet of Things? 24% of the Finnish companies are considering that Internet of Things is important from their strategic perspective, and then they are investing into it. 16% of the companies do consider that big data is important and they are investing into it. 86% of those the Finnish companies are still sleeping when it comes to managing data and considering that as a strategic thing from their company's perspective. What is the key, or why the percentages are so low? Most of the Finnish companies, they have been outsourcing their ICT competencies to service companies. They don't know. Only 11% of the Finnish companies do have their own ICT competencies. And that's a big lack when it comes to our industries and services in general. Those were the results that we were asking some 11,000 Finnish companies, and we got a response from 6,000 companies saying and reporting those facts to us. So in that sense, it's a nice sample. For the last 10 years, there has been a huge data business when it comes to digital platforms. And the value of that data business in digital platform economy is roughly $30 billion. Why I say it's $30 billion? The data is really not worth anything, because the data is provided free of charge for the different counterparts in these digital ecosystems. So data has no value at all as such before it is actually transferred into products, into services, and different type of things. How that has been happening when it comes to these digital platforms, Apples and Googles and so on? Well, there is a couple of things that what these companies have been capable of doing, of making data profitable business for themselves. By providing the data free of charge to anybody and to providing them technical and social boundary resources so that they are basically capable of creating their innovations on top of data, they have been capable of creating a new market for totally different type of applications and services that is worth $30 billion or even more than that. What was the value of the application and the service business when Nokia was controlling the supply chain for the mobile phones? Roughly 150 million euros. And what is that business now when the data, through these technical boundary resources, have been basically provided free of charge for anybody around the world? So basically, to finalize sort of this, that I do consider that we are not in the business of building software. We are not in the business of selling products and services, but we are in business of meditating and enabling into different type of interactions with data. And that's how the new markets within the last 10 years have been created around. Data has been provided free of charge, and then enabling these new type of innovations of 30 million euros.
Do we want to start with a sort of a short questions over here before we actually let the audience to? So how much of Kone data is leaving the firewalls of Kone?
Well, it's basically not even entering the firewalls of Kone, so that is we really use cloud services for that. And of course, it's not Kone data; it's customer data. Customer owns it, and we have the right to use it. So it's similar to Google's model. But basically, really, this is a very valid point what you went through, that people don't realize yet what is data. Some corporates or people now try to kind of charge for the data even though they don't know the value of it. And these kind of different business models emerge. And I'm sure there will be very interesting times how people will charge for the data, how will somebody try to keep it. But eventually we probably go to this open source type of activities. Free data is the most dominant way of going forward. That's my opinion.
I think that there is another great example of how to monetize from data. I think that's a great example of that how companies really can monetize from data. But it's most of the data that they use is from the free sources.
And this is also the big difference in some cloud providers, that some of them charge if you move the data outside their platform. And be careful when you read those contracts. Any questions from the audience?
Okay, we should move on to a couple of questions. So, or comments? Don't be shy.
A question here. You are using Watson there. How clever is Mr. Watson?
Well, we could discuss a lot of what is Watson and what is not, but
or is it clever at all?
So Watson, we use Watson IoT, which is the platform for my best platform for that. But yes, it's a machine learning technologies, deep learning technologies that was discussed earlier here. They have their lot of opportunities in different business areas, not just IoT, but all over the company. So we will see a lot of actions happening in corporates around that. But many of the companies are still good enough to start with traditional advanced analytics algorithms and get a lot of business benefits out of that. But yes, it's a really clever, like any deep learning technologies or artificial intelligence, it will bring a lot of benefits.
Any further comments? Okay.
Hi, Laura Juvonen from Technology Industries Finland. I was wondering, we asked from some 300 SMEs, their CEOs, about their views of their digital capabilities. And one question that they replied to was that, do they see that a competitor could come from outside of their own current business sector? And half replied that no, they don't see that this is likely to happen. And so my question is that how do we get more interaction and more companies joining this type of thinking and development? Because I truly believe that the competitor can come from outside the business sector that they currently work in.
Well, I think that for the companies that I've been working with, the initiative really come from the board of directors, from the chairman of the board. So it has been basically an initiative of him or her, and he or she is saying to the top management that do some investigation when it comes to this, and then they start doing it. But as I said, that the nowadays basically most of the organizations are so squeezed from the resources perspective, so that they don't have their own resources, and that's another huge problem to understand that what really digitalization means from their perspective. So I think that the only answer to that is that we need to sort of stop squeezing organization and we should sort of stop talking about the costs, and we should basically focus on start talking about creating new markets and sort of gaining from the productivity perspective, gaining from that new markets instead of cost cutting.
I'm sure there will be a lot of these things coming. And we are not looking just at competitors like Google and others. Google has been doing a lot of acquisitions in building industry, and technologies they are not doing that for fun. Of course, they're trying some things out, but in any cases they also succeed. So that's why the companies should kind of not focus on their core competencies, but try to create really value-added services that they are not just a bulk provider of, for example, steel of that building. Really add value to the customer.
There's one
Sorry,
more.
no more questions. The time is up.
Who's the boss here? Sorry for thinking that lady, but Konsta Saarela, Jordan, Accenture, and Joni, particularly to you, a little bit tanging the previous question as well, that many of these things are the investments that you made. You can't define an ROI on these things. And this seems to be a very major inhibitor for many of the Finnish business leaders and owners of the companies to make these investments into something that is unknown and potentially also partially fail. So any advice to your peer business leaders that how to drive these kind of unknown investments forward in their companies and create these budgets that are necessary for the innovation and success like Kone has been doing?
That's a very good question, and of course we are also traditionally very careful about business cases like any other companies. Basically, but what we do a lot of is the customer co-innovation, and our front lines in different countries are representing. They are the sales offices to the customers, so they know what the customers want, and we involve more and more customers, and we try out these services. So would you be interested in this kind of service? And I really encourage to do this as early as possible. You don't need to have anything technically available, just do this concept. How would you feel about this kind of service? And there are usually many cases that are not that what you thought about. You think that they would be interested in the traditional, but if they are not, you give them a weird idea and they would be really willing to pay for something like that. And that then changes the direction of the product development totally. And as early as you know, the better it's for something. Really innovate with the customer.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Joni and Timo. I think we have to move on.
Thanks a lot, Timo. So I won't have that many slides that you see. So I'm here to tell you about our funding call called Future Makers, and we are funding research openings. And the reason is actually this, what we have been talking about today, that where do the new ideas come from that spark growth and renewal in our society? And I strongly believe that research and science have a fundamental role in this, and we want to encourage more long-term cooperation between universities, research,
and the industry. I'm happy to see that there are many industry participants here as well. We need opportunities like today to actually have the opportunity to speak and meet. And if we look at what's going on, okay, there's been many mentions today about making Finland great again. But if we talk about today, technology industries account for half of Finland's exports and 70% of industrial R&D. So it will have a great impact on Finland's future, how the industry will do. We have talked a lot about the global drivers. What we are looking for here now are new ideas, novel ideas, ambitious ideas, a new kind of collaboration that would have an impact on the industry and the society when they proceed. We can take risk. These do not have to be these research plans where you know what the result will be, but you need to have a good idea. So Future Makers funding program is a joint program between Technology Industries of Finland Centennial Foundation and Jane and Aalto's ERCO Foundation. We have this year about 3 million euros funding for research openings, or even more if we receive really good, high-quality proposals. The process is two-staged. So now we're running the idea phase, where it's a light procedure. It doesn't take a whole research plan to enter, but you need to answer questions where you describe your idea, why is it important, and who you're cooperating with, and what the impact would be, and perhaps also why you are the best people to do this. Then we select a group of best proposals that we think have matched the criteria, and we work with the teams over the summer to improve the ideas, and then the funding decisions come in about September. Last year, we funded 5 research openings, and Aalto actually got 3 of those. Topics included 5G, industrial internet, artificial intelligence, and also human interaction. And I think some of the messages that we heard here today were really important about also trust and taking into account the users and the society and humans. And I think this is the sort of multidisciplinarity that we'd like to see as well. Another thing is that we're funding or handing out 100,000 euros for an inspirational person or group who have done something to truly advance technology and innovation in the Finnish society. And this prize is jointly given by the Centennial Foundation with the Finnish Foundation for Technology Promotion, so Tekniikan edistämissäätiö. And it's sort of our joint effort also to celebrate Finland's 100 years independence. So from the company, from the foundation website, you can find more details about the call. I'm sorry it's showing for some reason very badly, but perhaps you can see it from there. And there was also a link in the program at Aalto website. And then I also encourage you to follow us on Twitter. For example, I'm tweeting a lot about issues that are relating to the industry, society, and that will give you some larger picture of what kind of issues we're dealing with. And I'd also like to see the research people more active in Twitter The politicians are there, media is there, so we need to bring up this, the importance of science and research and fact-based economy there as well. So I hope you have a really nice afternoon here with the matchmaking. I will be here, happy to speak with you, and my colleague Marianna Jokila from our foundation up there. Marianna is here as well, and we'll be happy to speak about your ideas as well. Thanks a lot.